A Jeep is found over an embankment with the dead body of Kelly Lovera. Police at first think it's just a car accident. When they look closer, they see that Lovera had been severely beaten and the accident had been staged. But why would someone want to hurt the hardworking father? Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel and the place where we talk about all things true crime, killer concepts. My name is Peyton. Today we will be talking about the murder of a man named Kelly Lovera and the conviction of his wife Shayne Lovera for the crime. Before we get started, please make sure to hit that red subscribe button down below and turn on your post notifications so that you do not miss any future content. This case is one that I found in my Evil Women book by John Harlowe. I will link it down below if you are interested. It interested me, so I decided that I wanted to share this case with you. However, I was very surprised on the amount of actual news sources that I could find on this case for research. I pretty much just found an article from Oxygen. I used my book, and then I had to scour through court documents a lot more than I typically do. It's almost like it barely existed without the show Snapped by Oxygen. I don't think many people would know that the case was even a thing. So we are going to start by talking about the crime scene and the crime itself, and then we will talk about why it may have happened and the motives behind it. So on November 6th, 1994, two tourists hiking in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park would spot a black Jeep at the bottom of an embankment. So they would get park rangers. The United States Park Rangers would come and they would confirm that there was a Jeep at the bottom of a 100-foot embankment on US Highway 441. Inside the vehicle, they would find the deceased body of Kelly J. Lovera. When the Rangers started to take a closer look at the body, they thought the crime scene was pretty suspicious. It wasn't consistent with that of a normal car accident. Lovera looked to be severely beaten in the head, including missing a part of one of his ears. As I said, this is not consistent with a crash. Also, the police would find Lovera's body in the back seat of the vehicle. While he may have been thrown from the front seat during a crash, there was also blood seeping out of the back tailgate. This was weird because the car had crashed into a tree head first. Blood should have been going the other way, not seeping out the back tailgate. So police would go to the home of Shayne and Kelly Lovera to notify Shayne that her husband, Kelly Lovera, had been found deceased. When they spoke to her, Shayne would tell the police the following information. She had said that she had not seen her husband, Kelly, since 4:30 a.m. that morning. So on November 5th, the day before, in 1994, Shayne had decided to throw a party, something that she would frequently do, inviting friends and family over. One of these friends' names was ex-Navy man named Brett Rae, who had recently moved into the Frog Alley townhome community where they lived. Shayne would always invite Rae to their parties, and friends and family had said that she would give Rae enough attention that they could tell Kelly was not a huge fan of their relationship. So per Shayne Lovera, during the November 5th, 1994 party, Kelly had gotten very drunk and fell asleep on the couch at around 1 a.m. This is when she had decided she was going to go get burgers with Brett Rae at 1 a.m. When she came home at around 3 or 4 a.m., Kelly had apparently woken up and wanted to know where she had been. Shayne said he was in a jealous rage and they argued when at 4:30 a.m. he would storm out of the house and drive off in his Jeep. Unsurprisingly, police were having a very hard time believing her story. After all, they do always look at the spouse first, right? Due to this, the sheriff's office would decide to obtain a search warrant for the Lovera's home. But before they could even look at the home, somebody came into the police station with an interesting story. A man had come into the police station to report that a friend of his, Jim Burney, had given a ride to a friend of his, a 26-year-old man named Brett Rae, the same Brett Rae that had been with Shayne the morning Kelly Lovera disappeared. When Burney picked up Rae, he apparently asked him why Rae was so dirty, which he allegedly responded with, quote, "Well, I just ran Kelly off the side of an embankment, end quote. He apparently also told Bernie that he was deeply in love with Shayne Lovera, and he wasn't the only person he had told about the incident. The next day, Brett Rae would be arrested for murder. But Brett claimed he last saw Kelly at the party, and according to Oxygen, he had no idea what had happened to him. Investigators would then bring Shayne in for questioning, but she would lawyer up almost immediately, which would pretty much bring an end to the questioning, which can be seen as suspicious. November 7th, 1994, the autopsy of Kelly Lovera would confirm Kelly did not die from a car accident. As police believed, he had been severely beaten around his head. The multiple blows would have knocked him unconscious, and his brain swelled, which is what caused him to go brain dead. It had apparently looked as if something such as a baseball bat may have been used during the crime. When investigators would finally make it back to the Lovera townhome with their search warrant, they would come with a bottle of luminol. If you do not know what luminol is, which I'm sure you do, it is a substance that when it comes into contact with the enzymes in blood, it glows. So the luminol would show that the entire Lovera household was soaked in blood. There was blood splashed on to Kelly Lovera's master's degree that was hanging up on the wall in their house, as well as a blood path and drag marks throughout the hallway and out the children's bedroom window, which I just have to stop and say, the fact that somebody would take the dead body of the children's father out their bedroom window is just very twisted to me. The whole thing's twisted, but it makes it even worse. Police would also find evidence to confirm an affair between Shayne and Brett Rae. They had found a voicemail from her on his answering machine. But he was not the only man she had been having an affair with in Frog Alley. In fact, she had multiple affairs with men in their neighborhood. It was something that seemed to be commonly known. One of these men, Wade Hill. Wade Hill recalled Shayne talking about poisoning her husband, but at the time, he thought she was just joking. As many people would think that's just such an outlandish thing to say. They wouldn't think somebody would be serious. Kelly Lovera's friend, Alberta Boring, had also told investigators that the day after the murder, Shayne had called her. Quote, "She called, wanted to talk to me, and the first thing she asked was how much life insurance he had," end quote, Boring stated to Snap. Detectives looked further into this and saw that if Kelly Lovera had died in an accident, the life insurance would pay double, with plenty of physical and obviously substantial evidence, as well as huge amounts of motive. Police would arrest Shayne Lovera with first-degree murder of her husband on December 13th, 1994. Both Brett Rae and herself would end up making bail. This would make others in the town uneasy, but soon they would have to fear no more. On March 26th, 1996, Shayne Lovera and her co-defendant Brett Rae would be tried side by side in court. The prosecution would have plenty of witness testimony to use against Brett Rae because he had bragged to multiple people about what he had done, as I said before. Shayne, on the other hand, had kept her mouth shut. But during the trial, Shayne Lovera would actually try and completely throw her lover, Brett Rae, under the bus. She told the jury that Rae wanted to be with her so badly that he killed her husband in a jealous rage with a baseball bat when she was asleep. Then he would take the Jeep and stage the crime scene. She would even go as far as to deny their affair altogether, basically saying they were just neighbors, that it was nothing more than that. But she would be caught in a lie because when both of them had gotten out on bail, police had followed Lovera and Rae out into the woods in a local area, and they would catch them having sex. And this is obviously something that would be brought up in the trial. To defend this, she would say that he had threatened to implicate her in the crime, in the murder, so she pretty much had no choice but to go through with that. Rae would tell his attorneys to not deny any of it. He just wanted to protect Shayne Lovera because he loved her. He didn't want to see her go to jail, which is really a shame because she 100% threw him under the bus. But lucky enough, the prosecution had gotten her other lover, Wade Hill, to testify against her in court. The one who she had spoken to about wanting to kill her husband, making her not look so innocent and going against everything she had said. So on March 28th, 1996, the jury would hand down 2 guilty verdicts, which would only take them about 90 minutes to deliberate. Both were murder in the first degree, and both parties would plead guilty for their crimes in order to be eligible for parole in 25 years. Even with the plea, Shayne Lovera had never admitted to the murder of her husband, Kelly Lovera, and she still has not admitted to it. Kelly's mother would end up getting the custody of their 2 children. Like all of these cases, it is so sad to see the children left in the aftermath of such selfish decisions. Now they'll have no parents at all. I do believe both are still in prison, even though they are now technically eligible for parole. I think they have applied before, but I believe it has been denied. So I know that was a lot of information, but how about a little bit more? I want to talk a little bit about how Shayne and Kelly Lovera ended up meeting and how it all could have ended this way. So I'm going to start by talking about Shayne's life growing up, which will segue into how she meets Kelly. So Shayne Lovera was born in 1966. As Alicia Shayne Good, but was always called Shayne. Her parents were both teenagers at the time, and this made her early childhood pretty much rooted in poverty. They had no money, which obviously did not get better when they would eventually split up. They were young. However, Shayne's life had changed for the better in 1973 when her mother would marry a high-profile bank president. They would move to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and here Shayne would be introduced to a whole new kind of living, a much more lavish and materialistic lifestyle surrounded by money, something that she had obviously not had before. She would become accustomed to living this way. In 1985, while going to college at Missouri University, she would meet Kelly Lovera, a fellow student. And only a year later, in 1986, the two would marry. 5 years later, and the two would have 2 children now. Shayne would convince Kelly to uproot their family and move to Tennessee so that they could be closer to her family, which was in Gatlinburg. They would end up settling in a place called Sevierville, only 13 miles north of Gatlinburg, in a townhome complex known as Frog Alley. Unfortunately, this didn't seem to be good enough for Shayne. She expected when she moved back to Tennessee, she would begin living the life of privilege again, but that didn't happen. They weren't quite close enough to live in a house like her stepfather's, and instead they were living in a very small 1-story townhome. Shayne Lovera really struggled with this since she had become accustomed to the lap of luxury. She had a tendency to overspend. This would cause them a lot of money issues. So while Shayne continued to rack up debt that would take years to pay off, Kelly Lovera had went back to college for his master's in mathematics so that he could better support his family. But not long after he would get this degree, he would be found dead. The reason I wanted to mention this short little background of theirs is that I think it is important in this case, very important. Investigators believed that part of Shayne Lovera's motive to murder her husband was for life insurance money. Well, this helps explain why. As I said, Shayne Lovera had become very accustomed to living a lavish, expensive lifestyle. She did not seem to want to spend more modestly at all. She didn't want to cut back on spending. She didn't want to change her lifestyle. So why change when you can essentially convince someone else to take out your husband for you because they love you and they want you for themselves, and try and collect a life insurance on it? I think it is super sad because the two had 2 beautiful children, and it seemed like Kelly Lovera was such a hardworking and loving father and just wanted what was the best for his family. Otherwise, he obviously wouldn't have been going back to college to better support them. these kinds of cases just, they really disgust me because the amount of depravity is just so unreal, especially because it is just so materialistic. But when it comes to women who kill, this is not surprising. Many women who kill, as we have talked about over and over and over again, do it for financial motive. And that's the biggest blaring motive I could see in this case. With that being said, that is all I have for you on this particular case. Please let me know what you think of this one. I hope you have had a wonderful holiday if you celebrate Thanksgiving. I know this video was a day or two late, but I hope you had a great holiday. Please make sure to hit that red subscribe button down below and turn on your post notifications so that you do not miss any future content. If you have any case suggestions, please send them to killerconceptsvlog@gmail.com or comment them down below. And follow me on social media. All of the links for that are down below in the description box, as well as all my sources. Before you go, just remember that the world's most dangerous minds hide in the most unlikely places. Stay safe.